So we can pull up the map real quick. For those that don't understand, there's a story, I think it was in 2012, The Guardian reported that as of 2009, U.S. intelligence wanted to destabilize Syria because we wanted to build a natural gas pipeline from, I believe it was the Persian Gulf, through Iraq. Was it the Persian Gulf? It was through Iraq, through Syria, through Turkey, into Europe. Partly, or I should say majority of the largest reason why was to offset the Russian Gazprom natural gas monopoly. Syria said no. Syria is allied with Russia and outright refused to allow this. Of course, they also have Russia has a military base in Tartus, which is there it is, right here.
Yep.
And so conveniently for the United States, whatever you believe, Syria falls into civil war with the United States on the side opposing Assad, whatever side that may be. And it seems like now with Ukraine, with Burisma, all of these things are deeply connected to, we are trying to get cheap energy into Europe. It's a very simple way of putting it. Nord Stream gets blown up.
Yeah.
Where's the U.S. military in Syria? It's in the northeast where where the Conoco oil fields are.
Well, Trump told us that.
Yeah. Well, Trump tried to pull them out.
Yeah, they lied about it.
If I understand correctly, they're actually they were in Iraq, based in Iraq, and going to Syria from Iraq. But if I
and Trump wanted to get our troops out of Syria. It's really funny because when was the formal declaration of deployment? Right? It's like just all of a sudden it's like we have troops in Syria. It's like wait, when?
Well, the thing is, but the reason there was no declaration is because it was special forces, so it was like Delta and stuff. Like, so those dudes, then they
lied to the American people.
That's because the Delta.
The American people voted for a president who was saying no more to these garbage wars. You know what grinds my gears? That was me in 2008, Barack Obama, and I was and you know I very much was listening to what Ron Paul was talking. My friends were all very into Ron Paul, and then when it came down to the actual election, my friends were just like, dude, he's clearly not like the establishment. This is our one chance. And I was like, okay, whatever. I mean, I'm in Chicago. I'll vote for him. I don't know if it means anything. And then he went, one of the first things he did was he bombed a village of women and children. I think he killed 23 or something like that.
In Yemen, in Hodeidah, right?
Perhaps. All I know is I'm at these anti-war protests. They're saying George W. Bush is Hitler. And then Obama's like,
Obama, yeah. I thought we were talking about the Trump era. Sorry.
Oh, no, Obama did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so George W. Bush, they're calling him Hitler. They're waving these signs and then with the Hitler mustache. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll vote for Obama. And then I think it was like within a few weeks. Actually, I think it was like 3 days later after his inauguration. Women and children killed, 23 or so. And then I was just like, oh, okay.
No, there's
a lesson learned.
That was my ticket out of the Democratic Party forever.
That was me, right? I was just like, oh, so everybody just lied to me and I'm an idiot. I was pissed. And then I didn't vote again for 12 years.
Well, I mean, it was so much crazier than like just believing in it. It was like he got a Nobel Prize before he came in, Nobel Peace Prize.
I was really, really, really upset when that happened because I was like, he literally did nothing. This is cheapening the value of every single Nobel that has been given out before. Right. He got an award for being not George Bush. And there was no reason to believe, other than, he had a nice smile and was charismatic. There was no reason to believe that he was going to have any different policy. There was no and there was no change. In fact, he shot just as many missiles and violated the Constitution just as badly and
worse. He killed. I think he killed more American citizens than any other president. I mean,
I think he's the only guy that ever targeted American citizens
is the
openly without and targeted them without judicial without due process.
I'm just so disgusted by all this, man.
It's sickening.
The idea that we've talked, I can't remember who I was arguing with, but they were saying that the president has a wide what's the
birth?
Not birth, but like a mandate in terms of defending this country, and if that means American citizens overseas, I'm like, no, it doesn't.
That is such fabrication to apologize for the guy they like doing illegal shit. That's all it is.
Dude, I'm sick of this too. And I've been thinking, okay, Federal Reserve formed in 1913. World War I begins in 1914. Maybe a coincidence, maybe. World War II ends in 1945. Israel is formed in 1947. Maybe, probably. Okay, I'm done with the coincidences now. The British and the French wanted that area of the world. We've been in perpetual war for 115 years. This is one war. It started in 1914. We're still there. We're still in it.
No, it's not one.
It's been cold for a while. It's been proxy. It's the same fucking thing, man.
You can reduce it all the way back thousands of years.
It began in 1914 with this banking takeover.
No, it didn't. You know what really frustrates me? I was at Occupy Wall Street, and they were having a General Assembly meeting to determine what should be the goal. And one guy stands up, waving his arms like, you just said, fracking is everything. No. Why can't you see it?
I'm not saying that conflict began in 1914. I'm saying this war, the Great War, began in 1914, and it has not ended. The reason World War II...
Why did the alliances form? Why did
because they wanted to control the world with economy, man.
No. Why did the alliances form that led to World War I?
Cousins, birthrights, money.
The conflict was well before this. You can get as reductive as you want. It goes back forever.
But the banking cartels, the Bank for International Settlements, the Federal Reserve was formed in 1913, and it set the world on fire.
Napoleonic Wars and what was it? Rothschild?
Yeah.
Those were not
the legend of coming back and saying, yes, Napoleonic Wars
were European wars, yeah.
And what do you think World War I was?
A global war.
With what countries?
United States.
It was mostly based in it was mostly based in Europe.
And World War II.
And
These are
America,
European
and United States.
powers.
It's when North America got involved is when we started calling them world wars.
And with World War II, you had the Japanese Empire, which was relatively separate from what what was happening in Europe. But yes, even the Napoleonic Wars, you could argue, was like World War. These countries had colonies everywhere. Australia, New Zealand. There's French uninhabited islands near Antarctica. Yeah. Like, so it was World War. It's been
There's been colonization since like the 1600s.
And when the French
kicked off in 1914,
when the French Empire was at war with all the other countries of Europe, that included all of their colonies around the world as well.
They fought war there too.
They fought against the Russians, the Dutch.
Ian, I think what you're describing is the fact that when the Federal Reserve came into being, it allowed the government to print money, which allowed the government to finance war, right?
And also profit off of it.
I don't know that that's the case because I think that they could profit off of war long before the Federal Reserve.
But you get to blow things up and then give them as much of your money as you want.
I mean,
anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Maybe, but the point is that the existence of the Federal Reserve unleashes and basically not just the Federal Reserve, but money that's not actually pegged to gold. They can manipulate it much easier if they're printing money that's not pegged to gold. But the existence of the Federal Reserve is what really gave governments, specifically the United States government, the ability to fund wars. And when you have the ability to fund wars, then they'll go ahead and they'll look for reasons to go to war. But it's not like all the wars that you're describing are not the same thing.
I think it's all one war. They say World War I and World War II. It's semantic in my opinion.
World War I and World War II
are. Then you need to go back further than that. You need to go back to where these alliances come from.
I'm talking about this war began in 1914. But this war. This is a world war. It's been going on for 110 years, and it's banker controlled.
You are ignoring the history of Europe.
There's other wars that have happened. I'm not saying that this is the first war. I'm saying it's the first. We're still in this war. It hasn't stopped yet, and it's been cold. It was cold, and now it's a cold war with China, and it's like been proxy.
Yes, Ian. When you say China's involved in the same war, you need to go back.
They were involved in World
War I. You are choosing to hyper-focus on the banks because that's what you care about.
This banking war started in 1914.
No, it didn't.
No, I don't think.
When do you think that the Federal Reserve War began? Before the Federal Reserve existed? Like, what are you talking about?
The Federal Reserve is a symptom, a creation because of these things.
I mean,
you're
Rockefeller
ignoring the history
and
of where
Rothschild
these things
started that freaking thing to control people,
and you're ignoring where they came from and where their wealth comes from and what conflicts they were involved in. You are choosing to hyper-focus on the Federal Reserve because that's your thing. But bro, it's just all of this is reductive.
No, it's not, man. It's a war, and it's semantic to call the Cold War not World War. World War I is the Cold War. It's the same shit.
So, Ian, the world wars of the 20th century were wars of ideology. It was really people figuring out, because in the 18th or in the 19th century, you had the Industrial Revolution made it possible for people to not live just in an agrarian society. You had people going to cities and stuff. You had this massive explosion in people that could become philosophers and blah, blah, blah. And so in the 19th century, there was a lot of philosophers. They came up with the ideas of socialism. Fascism was the idea was created. Liberalism was a creation that was also in the 18th century. And the wars of the 20th or 19th century, I'm sorry, the wars of the 20th century were kind of, or at least the first half, were kind of trying to hash out what system works best. You had socialism, you had fascism, you had liberalism, and the way that it worked out at the end of the 20th century is it looked like liberalism probably was the best system for humanity because it allows people to make mistakes without having it being a top-down control. So what you're describing is really more of humans trying to figure out the best way to organize their societies and fighting over the way to organize it, because you went from
total war
feudalism in the 19th century, and then you went into capitalist societies, and then that's where you had enough production where people could start to, just talk about socialism or fascism and whether the state should be in control or whether the individual should be in control. But these things are all symptoms, or the wars that you're talking about are all symptoms of humans trying to figure out the best way to organize their society.
We're currently in fascism right now, and it's not working very well.
We're not in fascism right now.
We are in fascism.
We're in liberalism.
We have private corporate. Let me finish this because I want to go on. But there's a war between England and France called the 100 Years' War. Wars can go on that long. Mm-hmm. So just consider that maybe we've been in. Like, it's not normal to be at war. Like, we're not
How
in
long was
that
the 100-year
is not true.
war?
War is the norm for all of human history.
I don't think so.
It absolutely is.
I mean, you weren't there. How do you know? I don't think we have to be at war.
Okay,
so we've been in a war my whole life. But we've just been winning it the whole time. We've been in a siege where America has 150 military bases controlling people's behavior.
War and violence are the norm for human society. Peace is extremely rare, and we are living in an anomalous time where generally our society is at peace.
But
now
the world's not.
I know that it's not the world. That's why I'm saying our society, Western society, is generally at peace, and it is anomalous. It is not normal in human history to not be at war. There has been. If you look at human history, it is drenched in blood and made of piles of bodies. The fact that we can get up in the morning and not worry about dying,
I'm not in that place anymore.
Is a huge. It's totally unique to our time and place.
I don't feel that. I am worried about dying.
That's fine.
Because we're at war.
I understand. I understand.
To pretend like we're not is just a ticking time bomb.
I understand what you're saying, but what I'm trying to do is give you a little perspective or to pull you back from the brink, because we are actually in one of the most peaceful times in human history. And human history is full of war.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.